What's up guys, it is Caleb with Gaming Theology. Today we're going to be taking a look at three of some of the most fleshed out religions in video games. Now I want to be clear, these aren't real life religions in video games, these are games which the developers have written their own unique religions into. I hope that makes sense. The three religions that we're looking into today are 1. The Children of Adam from the Fallout series, 2. The Covenant from the Halo series, and 3. The Church of Unitology from the Dead Space series. We're going to give a brief rundown of each religion, their core beliefs, their ultimate goal, and any interesting facts about them. Then finally, at the end of the video, we're going to be drawing similarities between those religions and try to make a conclusion about the meta-narrative of how religion and spirituality is represented in video game culture. Without further ado, first up, the Children of Adam from the Fallout series. Fallout is a series that lends itself to the trope of what if the nuclear race in the Cold War was not a race for nuclear weapons, but rather nuclear power. In this timeline, fossil fuel runs out around the year 2060, and then everything switches to nuclear energy. And what do you know? Bada bing, bada boom, nuclear war happens. The world is destroyed, but humanity lives on for generations in underground vaults. Eventually, after the radiation levels have decreased enough for humanity to re-emerge, so does religion. The Children of Adam represents a small, radical group of people who share the belief in a deistic force called Atom. A-T-O-M, capital A. It's like the atoms in your body, but singular, and it's a god. I don't quite understand. It's a creator god. He creates new universes through the act of nuclear fission. That means their most holy event would be the detonation of a nuclear bomb, because it creates nearly infinite new universes. Hopefully you can see how destructive this religion could be, which is why they are almost never on the player's good side in the game. There are even instances in the game where they try to force convert non-believers by spraying irradiated liquid into their faces. Yikes. Another core tenet of the religion is that they consume or at least purposely expose themselves to heavily irradiated objects, and they treat them like artifacts from their most holy event, which is the Great Nuclear War that nearly destroyed the world. They have a pretty strict ranking system, although the actual progression of that system is never really clearly explained. There are your everyday simple followers of the religion, but there are also zealots, high zealots, confessors, and high confessors. From what I understand, which is only based on vague dialogue scripts I could find in my research, it's that confessors are the teachers and zealots are the warriors. At least that's standard, although they could both be spiritual leaders given the right context. The final step of the faith of the Children of Adam varies from splinter group to splinter group. For some believers, living in the presence of heavy radiation until they die is considered a life fulfilled. Others want to weaponize the radiation and use it to infect and incapacitate unbelievers until they too believe in Adam. Others believe that by detonating all nuclear material on the planet, they can finish the apocalypse and their ultimate goal is then realized. Either way, this is a whacked out religion and I'm really glad it's not a thing in real life. Could be pretty dangerous. Religion number 2, the Covenant from the Halo series. Now, Halo is my favorite game series of all time. There were different periods in my life where I competed at a very high level before the esports scene kind of just faded into non-existence. But even besides the awesome multiplayer, there is a rich storyline that has extensive lore, and it's honestly a really good read if you're ever interested. At the center of the first 3 games is an alien collective called the Covenant. They're a technologically superior coalition of alien races unified under a religious goal of setting out on the Great Journey. What is the Great Journey? Well, good question. Long story short, and I mean like it's a really long story. A really long time ago, an even more powerful race of aliens called the Forerunners battled a galaxy-wide threat, a biological hive mind that infects and takes over all life that it touches, called the Flood. To win this unwinnable war, the Forerunners built massive superweapons called Halos and fired them, which wiped out all life in the galaxy, eradicating the Flood's source of food. Eventually it died off, except, drumroll please, a collection of every form of life in what's called an ark, I wonder where that came from. That would eventually send out these life forms to reseed the galaxy and to start life anew once it was all inhabitable again. And it honestly turned out great until a bunch of aliens found the rings and other super powerful artifacts left over from the Forerunners, and they began worshiping the Forerunners as gods. Thus, the Covenant is born. Their core beliefs revolve around collecting and using Forerunner technology to learn more about the Halo Rings, which are the most holy relics of all for them. They hope that through worship and occasional conquest, they can one day activate the rings, which allows those who believe to complete the great journey and ascend to a godlike existence. Now, this is just my opinion, but man, how did they convince anyone to believe this junk? I included this religion into this video for a couple reasons. One, it's my favorite game series. Two, the religion does play a central role in the story. And number three, it's insanely popular. So the research is super easy. But man, I have to admit, for a game that places religion front and center as the antagonist, the religion itself is super weak. Like, for a galaxy-wide, super intelligent, technologically advanced coalition of aliens, how is it that they can adhere to a religion that's just like, yeah, we found these really cool guns, and I don't know, whoever made them must be God. Oh yeah, and there's like this big old ring over here. Maybe that's gonna get us to heaven. I don't know. And I know I'm not doing the full extent of the lore justice here, but still, I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't believe in the Forerunner gods if I was out there in this universe. Alright, disclaimer for this next portion of the video. We're going to be talking about a game called Dead Space, and so that's going to be the game that's playing in the background. It is exceedingly gory, and though I've made sure to not show some of the worst the game has to offer, if seeing alien mutilation disturbs you or puts you off, feel free to skip to this timestamp on the screen. Back to the video. Okay, finally, religion number 3. Unitology from the Dead Space series. This is probably the most grounded religion. Not in its actual events, I mean it is about aliens after all, but the immersion of the religion. Of all the games I've played where religion takes a significant role, this is the one that seems to make the most sense. It's honestly the most realistic. Basically, in Dead Space, scientists find a massive alien artifact called the Marker. People who are directly exposed to the Marker or live in close proximity to it for an extended period of time lose their minds, die, and become necromorphs, which are undead alien hybrid things. Think of a weird cross between like the aliens from the Alien series who incubate inside the host, and combine that with your standard zombie. It's weird, but it makes sense for the universe that it's set in. Anyway, the scientist who found the Marker, his name is Michael Altman, learned that the end goal of the Marker is to infect and take over all life on whatever planet it lands on and turn everything into necromorphs. From there, the now zombie-infected planet would merge with an even bigger celestial zombie called a brother moon, and the Marker would be resent out to a different planet, continuing the cycle. Well, one thing led to another. The scientist who tried to warn everybody was killed, and his warning was misinterpreted as prophecy, and all of a sudden, boom bam, the Church of Unitology is born, proclaiming Michael Altman to be their first martyr. The church claimed that Altman's prophecy proclaimed a future that would see all mankind unified and exalted. So as a reminder, exposure to the Marker ultimately merges everybody's undead bodies into a hive mind, but the church preached that it was an event called convergence where at some future time all believers would become one godlike entity. It's a little different from the original message. Same vibe, different energy, if you know what I mean. Now what's interesting is that the game's Unitology has a lot of similarities with the real world's Scientology. Now I'm no Scientology expert, so I may say some things that are just plain wrong, but I'm just regurgitating information that I found in my own research. Anyway, apart from the name, there's a couple things that are remarkably similar. First is the lack of religious text. Both Scientology and Unitology rely solely on the words of their prophets as religious authority. For Scientology, it's L. Ron Hubbard. For Unitology, it's Michael Altman. And while both religions publish spiritual books, there is no material which is revelatory or prophetic or authoritative by nature. Nothing like the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah if you want to compare it to Abrahamic religions. Secondly, the idea of unification. In Unitology, the final cataclysmic event is called convergence. To take part in convergence, one has to keep their heart, mind, and soul clean so that they can integrate into the final holy mind blob thing. The Lord gets really fuzzy as to what the godlike entity that comes out of convergence actually is, but I digress. For Scientology, there is a future event of communion, which will see all human minds reaching some sort of enlightened state. And, well, to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what the specifics are of this union event. Maybe my Scientology sources weren't a high enough rank to know that information. I mean, almost all Scientology on the internet right now is memes, rumors, and just general speculation about the religion. I almost feel bad for Scientology people, because even if I was trying to get into the religion, it's so hard to find actual doctrine that's not just Reddit jokes. Anyway, both religions have some sort of cataclysmic union event. That's all you need to know. The last main similarity, although there are lots more, is the relationship between humans and extraterrestrials. While the origins aren't as similar in the religions, the endings share many important points. For example, both religions believe that the climactic convergence event will allow them to assume their true form, be it alien or otherwise. Also, both religions believe that their respective prophet received divine alien revelation during their trip to enlightenment. Weird stuff is going on here, folks, but that's Unitology, the religion of Dead Space. Alright, so there is your brief rundown of 3 fairly popular video game religions. They're all radically different, but I think there are some important similarities that can shed some light onto how non-religious people view organized religion. First of all, there's an emphasis on ascension to something greater, to a greater being. The children of Adam believe that there is this final human evolution, and it's the ghoul, this undead, infected, irradiated husk of a human that's devoid of any real consciousness. For the Covenant, it's all about the great journey, a path to enlightenment and unlimited power by firing the halo rings. Ultimately, it allows one to ascend to a godlike species. In Unitology, it's that we would all coalesce into an almost Brahmin-like state of unity. One body, one mind, all powerful, that kind of thing. I think we can use this to exposit some really interesting commentary on how non-religious people see religious people, and in particular how Christianity tends to subvert these views. You see, all these religions share a view that humanity is not good enough. The whole world is not good enough. There needs to be a path to something better. We need to leave behind our humanity and find the real best thing. And for a lot of real-world religions, and unfortunately for a lot of Christians, this is the train of thought. Everyone shares a sense of longing for something better, but these religions get it wrong in one key area. And I think it shows a widespread misunderstanding about Christianity and God in general. They think that humanity is insufficient. It's not good enough. We need something better. We need to ascend to something more perfect. In reality, true Christianity is the exact opposite. You see, God created humans perfectly. He created the world perfectly. We just messed it all up. The story of God interacting with the world is not to set us on a path of ascension. It's to set us on a path of restoration. You see, Christ dying on the cross was not so that we could go to heaven and assume some greater form. It was so that we could let our sin die off of us and be reconciled back to how it was supposed to be. To say that we're yearning for something new and better than what we are now is to say that when God created us at the beginning, we weren't good enough. And now I want to clarify, we are not perfect. We can't be perfect. The world is broken and people kind of suck. But the solution is not looking forward to being recreated as something new and better. The solution is looking back and accepting Christ so that he might restore us to how it should have been all along. Okay, we're running out of time here. Let's look at one more similarity, the end game. More specifically, the follower's role in bringing it about. For many denominations of Fallout's children of Adam, detonating nuclear weapons and ushering in the true apocalypse is what their God demands for achieving the end of religion. In Halo, the Covenant must activate the holy Halo rings and cleanse the galaxy of non-believers. It's this action which allows the whole Ascension thing. For Unitology, It insists that the soul cleansing and prolonged worship to the marker will allow one to become part of the eventual convergence. Once enough people have done it, convergence will trigger. The thing which unifies all these religions is that it is all on the believer's shoulders, which falls the responsibility of the end goal. Now, if that's not evidence for a godless religion, I don't know what is. Because if an all-powerful deity is out there, why would he be relegated to waiting on frail, weak humans to fulfill the deity's needs before continuing its plan? When a religion is that human-centric, it shows it's built on a God that cannot be proven to actually do anything in the lives of believers. For Christianity, we know that our God is real and all-powerful. He is active in the goings-on of the world. It is for that reason that we submit that, hey, we have no say in when Christ returns. That's a decision God alone can make because God alone is powerful enough to bring that on. I think the way of thinking displayed in these video games is evidence that the world simply does not believe in a God that has the power to be active and moving in the real world. And it's on our shoulders to shift that paradigm, help people believe that there is a God out there that can do amazing things. Anyway, that's all I had to say for this, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry that the video was so long. I'm trying to figure out a good middle ground in the length of videos. I'd like to stay somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, but I'm bad at parsing things down and I like to say what I want to say. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on the length of the video, as well as just I'd love to hear any other similarities you guys can draw out of these religions and any other cool religions and video games that you guys have seen. Thanks for watching. Please share the video if you think your friends might like it, and like and subscribe if you liked it. Have a great day, guys, and God bless.